at 33. So there is warming trying to work northward. Scappoose Airport has cracked the freezing mark at 33. And then this is the real warm spot. Aurora 45, McMinnville, Kaiser, Salem 46. Almsville shares that. Estacada, good afternoon. You share a temperature of 46 degrees as well. The ice storm warming holding on for the Multnomah County area and the core of downtown Portland until our temperatures get up just a little bit. Again, there's that PDX mark at 31. You jump up to Kelso, it's 33. But along the Columbia River, this is what the east winds are pulling off of. 14 Pendleton, 18 the Dalles, very cold air still coming in. And that's why this warm up has been so gradual. It will gradually continue pushing the thermometer upward during the afternoon hours. So I would say confidence is full that at least in downtown we're going to be above freezing, 38 degrees. We talked about this morning. If you are watching us from east of 205 into Troutdale, those east winds have not shown much change over the last 6 hours. It's not a guarantee that you get above freezing today. A lot of you are still 28, 29, 30 degrees. Here's the radar, and you can tell who's cold. There's Clark County, freezing rain still being reported. There's the gorge out in East Multnomah County, still reporting freezing rain. There is hope that the winds will calm enough that everybody gets to be warm. But again, if you're watching us from East Multnomah County into the gorge, can't guarantee you're going to warm up today. Back to you.
Yeah, it's safe to say, Rod, wherever people live, warmer temperatures can't get here soon enough. And here's another example why. Take a look at this now. These semi-trucks show just how slick it's been out there today. Multiple semis slid off the road, shutting down a couple of off-ramps along I-205 in Clark County.
What a mess. Devin Haskins has been in Vancouver all morning long. And Devin, earlier this morning, it was looking like an ice rink out there. How are things looking now?
Yeah, things aren't much better. You can see behind me the road. Here we're downtown Vancouver near Esther Short Park. The road is still completely covered in snow, and that packed down, adding the ice on top of it. It is a slippery mess out here. In fact, let me give you an idea of what I dealt with early this morning, as well as what troopers saw in their morning commute. That is exactly why I'm doing this, to show how slick these streets are. You know, this morning with all this ice. It's easy to see just how slick and slippery downtown Vancouver was at 5 this morning. Yeah, it's a sheet of ice out here. The freeways weren't much better, albeit a slower morning commute, a slick one nonetheless. We came across multiple cars and semi-trucks that had slid off the road.
Oh, the roads have been treacherous. Definitely a cold and slick morning.
This morning, troopers shut down the westbound off-ramp from 205 to Padden Parkway after this semi-truck slid off the road. This car tried to pass the truck and slid off as well.
The grade on this is just treacherous. It's solid ice. Just standing here is hard.
A little farther south at the SR 500 eastbound off-ramp, same situation, different semi. Troopers call this ice storm a perfect combination of the two weather events.
Perfect conditions. It's been super cold, let alone with the snow. Ice pack warmed up just a little bit to where we had a little bit of the ice melt and refroze over. We had a hard freeze, and now we got the freezing rain on top of it. It just makes for horrible driving conditions.
Yeah, there were multiple times that we actually slid and kind of fishtailed ourselves in our four-wheel drive vehicle. Troopers say those two semis that slid off the off-ramps didn't have chains on. They put them on finally when they slid off, but it was too late for that. Back to you.
Thank you so much for your reporting today, Devin. Now to East Multnomah County, I-84 between Troutdale and Hood River still closed this noon.
Yeah, KGW's John Adams is live at the Troutdale truck stop for us. John, it's a waiting game at this point for truckers out there, and it could be a long one.
You know, it really is a waiting game, and the reason why it's a waiting game is because Troutdale is completely covered in ice at this point. You know, I'm standing on in a parking lot here at one of the truck stops, completely ice underneath our feet here. When we arrived this morning, as we moved out of the Portland area, once we got closer to Troutdale, I-84 was covered in ice as well. And for the truckers that are here, many of them that have been here and turned away from continuing on at I-84 and have had to exit, it's a frustrating day. Semi after semi line the exit ramps and truck stops in Troutdale as winter conditions make I-84 impassable. The Arctic air and freezing rain continue to keep the gorge in a stranglehold, even as other parts of the area start to thaw. For truck drivers that are stuck here, the anxiety builds as the clock ticks. Days like this mean lost time and lost wages, but sometimes it's important to see the glass half full.
It's about money then. We're sitting here, I make nothing. unless I can move. We're just sitting here going broke. Everything, I've got food in the truck, so everything I eat I have to replace, so that's money. But it gives me a day off.
It's an inconvenience, and it messes with your paycheck a little bit, but it'll melt and we'll get running again.
ODOT says I-84 will likely remain closed on Wednesday as the frigid east wind continues to howl through the gorge, delaying the much anticipated end of what has been a deadly winter weather event for the area. Well, we want to also note that SR 14 is closed as well, so no way to pass through the gorge. The good news is conditions have gradually improved over the last hour. The freezing rain has stopped. Warmer air feels like it's moving in, so hopefully that means the tide has turned a little bit here and we can get this cold air moving out of the area, guys.
Yeah, again, I-84 between Troutdale and Hood River expected to be shut down all day. Thank you for your reporting this morning and this noon, John. Well, many sidewalks and streets in Portland still sheets of ice. This is what it looks like right now at Pioneer Courthouse Square. Still looking slick. I see one person braving that like little pathway there. Probably still slick though.
Yeah, those pathways were clear this time yesterday, but now ice covered. I believe I see one more person this afternoon. There is that person. China Green is live in downtown for us. So China, two-part question. Where exactly are you in downtown and how are things looking there?
Things are looking tough. I actually have to hold on to something so I don't slip and fall on my face on live TV, because that's embarrassing, right? But we're right off of 20th, and 20th isn't a problem here. The main roads are not a problem. It's the side streets and the sidewalks, which are an absolute joke. I mean, just take a look at this. There is no way you are walking on this or finding any sort of balance. It's not going to happen. You're just going to slide right on down. Up here, this is what a nope looks like. When this person attempted to get out of this gate and then found that it was a little bit too slippery right there on the sidewalk, and then just didn't continue his walk. But we talked to Dylan Rivera with Portland Bureau of Transportation this morning, and he said the side streets that aren't plowed had an inch of snow from this weekend storm, and now they have a glaze of ice on top of them, which we're on. But even the main roads this morning, Dylan says they're literally using the force of tires on their heavy snow plows to crush the ice that is on their routes just to get one passable lane. But let's talk about the people walking in this today. We're seeing many people walk on the roads because the roads are slushy in some areas and the sidewalks are just ice. We saw a guy really struggling in the South Park blocks. Regular shoes are just not going to cut it. You will slip and it will hurt. I know, I could tell you, I've done it 3 times. And we just came across a guy who looked like he was trying to repark his car, and then he said, all right, I'm going to walk to work. But then once he got acquainted with what the sidewalk looks like, he decided that he was going to call out. And also, PBOT had to rescue 2 fire trucks. So if you are driving anything lighter than a fire truck, you should also stay off the roads and sit this one out. Back to you guys.
China, I know that spot where you're at near the Mac Athletic Club, and I also know the parking situation over there. If we could see that truck one more time, I know you are not allowed to park on that sidewalk. That is unbelievable.
That's for sure.
Jeez
wow.
Louise.
Okay, thank you, China. So this ice causing issues on mass transit too. Let's get right to our Chris McGinnis for an update on where things stand right now. Chris, what do you have for us?
Yeah, guys, and at the noon hour, TriMet's telling us all MAX service is still disrupted. They hope to get the Blue Line up and running at some point. That is their first priority, and then they will work their way to the other lines. Shuttle buses are serving all MAX lines. Expect delays, though, also at all bus routes. By the way, checking in with C-Tran, all express service is canceled today, and there are significant delays on the C-Tran system as well. Check ctran.org for the latest updates on that. All right, let's get you to the roads. John Adams was out in Troutdale showing you what the entrance to the gorge looks like. This is what it actually looks like in the Columbia River Gorge. This is a live camera from ODOT out in Cascade Locks. We did see a snowplow go through here eastbound, taking that Cascade Locks exit about 2 hours ago, but you can see it is still a winter wonderland out there. We have numerous closures. Of course, Interstate 84 is closed. Highway 47 closed in Washington County between Banks and Highway 26 because of downed trees. Highway 34 west of Corvallis closed. Sweet Home to Shea Viewpoint on Highway 20 also closed. So downed trees still taking their toll on roadways outside of the metro area. In town, guys, this is encouraging. This is a live look at I-205 near Stark, and not only do we see bare pavement, but at this point, with temperatures getting near or above freezing in some cases, just wet roads. So pack your patience, Hang on, we will get there. It's just going to take a little while longer this afternoon, guys.
All right, we appreciate the update, Chris. You know, so far here at noon, we've really only talked about the impact of the ice storm that hit us over the past 24 hours, but thousands of people across Oregon and Southwest Washington are still living with no power after losing it during the initial blast of Arctic weather we saw last weekend. We'll have an update on those outages coming up.
Plus, Multnomah County lifted its state of emergency today. What this means for homeless people who've been relying on shelters to stay warm. We'll be right back.
Well, the ice made it really difficult for these first responders this morning. Take a look at this video from Gresham where a fire destroyed a two-story apartment. Gresham Fire tells us the people who live there weren't home when it happened, thankfully. It started just after 3 a.m. near Southeast 187th and Stark. Firefighters say it took them extra time to get there because of the ice, and then all the water they used to put out the flames eventually froze a short time later. At this point, we still don't know how that fire started.
Well, today, thousands of people are still without electricity, and PGE crews are going to be back out today trying to restore their power that's been down for days.
So the latest update from PGE shows around 14,000 of its customers remain in the dark and in some cases without heat. Almost all those outages, by the way, are from last weekend's initial blast of winter weather, not the ice storm that arrived late yesterday afternoon. By the way, much better numbers than this past weekend when the number stood at like 160,000 people. Pacific Power, meanwhile, now reporting nearly 15,000 outages of their own. Most of those are in the southern Willamette Valley towards Corvallis and Eugene.
Yeah, improvements in the power department. I know improvements in the weather department, but it's slow going, right, Rod?
It is. Now, you may look at this. This is Chinook Winds Casino Resort in Lincoln City, and you're like, Rod, that doesn't look that great. It's raining, it's cloudy, but it's 50 degrees. Now, what do you think of the coast? Yeah. All right, we'll get into a gradual warm up for at least most of us ahead of my forecast.
All right, Rod Hill back in the studio now to give us the most important information of the day, a look at our weather.
You know what always happens? Slower than what the forecaster says, speaking for myself anyway. The warm-up. We said 34 at noon, it's 31. Which isn't horrific, but here we go again. It's just taking forever to get the warm-up underway.
It felt like it was slow to develop. Maybe it just didn't want to leave. Hung around. It was slow moving.
Well, you know,
we're friendly people, aren't we? Let's take a look at the big board. Some encouraging news. This is that Arctic air still kind of hanging over much of the country, but these are warming temperatures in many spots, significantly warmer than we've seen the last couple of days. So here we go. How much ice do we have? Portland on average, now these are liquid amounts that went into the record book, how much actual precipitation fell. We know the precipitation was all freezing range. That gives Portland on average around the metro around 1/4 of an inch of ice. Maybe it was more where you are, maybe it was a little bit less. And then by the time you got down in Salem, it was more like 1/2 of an inch of ice was more common, and Corvallis was even heftier than that, between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch of ice accumulation. So right as we came on the air here at noon today, the National Weather Service did drop officially for them the ice storm warning, except for the West Gorge. So here in purple is the ice storm warning in the West Gorge, and that turns into the winter weather advisory for snow in the Dalles. And we have the winter weather advisory for a mix of snow and some icing up in the Cascades. Now, we're still getting freezing rain, light showers, depending on where you are in the metro. So kind of take that warning being dropped with a grain of salt. This is pretty, right? This is the Oregon Veterans Home camera out in the East Gorge from the Dalles. They're at only 18 degrees. ODOT mentioning earlier, it was one of our lead stories that 84 likely to remain closed in the gorge today. It's just not warming up out there, so that's going to continue. I grabbed this shot from the Oregon Interpretive Center, end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center. That's a mouthful. Down in Oregon City, because you can see the icing still on the grass down there. All right, here's the radar. Plenty of moisture still coming in. There is a bit of a moisture breakout here, so eventually it's pretty wet this afternoon, mostly light precipitation. But then we'll see things break up and won't be as wet overnight. There'll be a little bit of dry time mixed in. All right, current temperatures, no problems at the coast. Astoria 45, Kelso's warmed up, Portland's 45, but here's the cold flow coming along the Columbia River into the North Valley and parts of Portland. That's why we're struggling to warm up. The Coast Range is even warming up. There's 42 at David Douglas Park on US 26, and even up at 1,400 feet, getting close to the Coast Range summit, the road still looks kind of messy, but it's pushing 40 degrees. It's 39. So there is warming taking place. Government Camp, for crying out loud, is 37. Much warmer up on the mountain than it is in East Multnomah County right now. Again, here are the temperatures outside. I'm sorry, this is what we expect to happen later today. Pardon me, I got shocked when I saw the 38. Yeah, we're hoping to get to 38. This is a 5 o'clock temperature projection. 40 in Kelso, 40 is already in Salem. The coast is already warm. This brings some warming to the Dalles. That's probably way too warm. The Dalles is going to be probably no warmer than 20-something this afternoon, but it has warmed up over in Central Oregon, so we're liking the look of that. And with all of that said, here comes your 7-day forecast. 40 degrees today at most, and if we get to 40, it's probably going to be late afternoon or maybe even this evening. We could still potentially see temps bump a little bit this evening, but I would say confidence is high that downtown's definitely going to get above freezing. You folks east of 205, though, you still have to have those east winds fizzle a little bit before you warm up. We'll go above freezing for most of us tonight, 42 tomorrow. We're still eyeing Friday for this possibility of freezing temperatures in the morning. I'm not sure there's even precipitation early in the morning, but if there is, we could have a little bit of some brief icing in the morning and then warm to 40 during the day. And then the weekend right now is all above freezing. And then if you go to Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we're actually all the way up to 50 degrees. I know that's a ways out, and we've got to get through today, and we may have to get through Friday morning. We have more news for you coming up in just a moment.
Welcome back. The state of emergency in Multnomah County expired at noon, and the warming shelters are now closed.
The county also says at least 4 people have likely died this week from hypothermia. And in Washington County, a Tigard resident was found dead in their home on Monday. The suspected cause there is also hypothermia. We talked to a man named Robert who's homeless in Portland. He told us he stayed at 2 warming shelters this week, but he also showed us how his hands have really taken a beating in all of this cold.
That's frostbite. This digit here is pretty much dead. It goes numb and it gets hard. Yeah, the tissue's dead. I'm not happy about it, but I'm an old dog and, I've been through worse.
Well, the ice and snow have also made it difficult for organizations that deliver food to hungry people. Some have had to delay deliveries or cancel handout events. But one nonprofit was still able to get out and hand out food at Mount Scott Park yesterday.
Horrible weather affects kind of the most vulnerable in our population who are already at risk and in need. So being able to operate like this on a day like today when probably a lot of other food markets or resources for them have been closed the last few days, we know how vital it is to get food out to those people who need it.
This nonprofit, Urban Gleaners, hosts 3 free markets all over Multnomah and Washington counties. We've got more information on our KGW website. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So yeah, a lot of people thinking about thawing out, and gradually it's doing just that.
Yeah, if you're standing in Gresham right now, you can probably feel the warmth all around you, but it's not right where you are. Here's a look at our temperature map. We are seeing some warming. It's now 34 in downtown at that specific site, 34 in Beaverton, 40 in Happy Valley, but still below freezing. Gresham 31 is actually up from where it was. Troutdale's been holding steady, but it's clearly that east wind area near 205, as we've been talking, back into the gorge, where temperatures continue to be in a deep freeze with any moisture being freezing rain. Once you get down into Marion County, now's the time to sell your house. Market prices are up thanks to that warm temperature of 45 degrees.
Ooh,
How about
warm.
that? Yeah. And of course, the coast. Nobody can afford a house in Florence right now. It's 51 degrees. All right, here's a look at our 7-day forecast, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to get up above freezing, even in East Multnomah County today. I'm not sure if that happens for all of you. I do think the main city core of Portland stays above freezing tonight with rain at times coming in tomorrow. Don't forget there's that chance that we have a little bit of wintry weather Thursday overnight into Friday morning as we look at downtown Portland. You want to say anything, Drew? You want me to say goodbye to everybody?
How about this? A merry melting to all, and to all a good thaw.
That's all.
Good night.